everybody has religious freedom under our constitution. Yet, in our national practice, there seems to be tension between charismatics and traditionalism in terms of respect for each other's practices, such as the ban on noise making. And in previous dispensations, libation could be poured. Now, it appears there are only prayers, and we don't seem to have the plurality. I would be very interested to hear the views of the charismatic and our traditional. Who would like to go first? I think Reverend Ade-Acquah is smiling broadly, so perhaps you could start.
I'm happy Numo Blafo is here. He belongs to a fraternity that I also belong to as a developmental chief. I think that the charismatic move has been quite immature in our genesis, and I would admit that without any qualms about it. I think that when a move starts, the people that the move starts with are quite naive and they don't have an example to follow. I'm happy today we can talk about His grace and follow the example of the Catholics and what they have pioneered and how they have conducted themselves over the years. So now we have an example to follow. As we grow older, we also begin to mature, and then we understand that some of the things we did were out of immaturity. One of the things that we started was, like he said, was by trying to condemn other religious beliefs to make ours superior. Now, everywhere there's superiority and inferiority, there's bound to be conflict, because intolerance breeds injustice, and injustice breeds rebellion and conflict that kind of never seems to abate. Today, as part of the charismatic move, we'll be the first to stop anybody who makes an insensitive statement against any other religion, and we need to respect the tradition of the land. Even if we don't agree, there's a way to behave and seek remedial measures than to bastardize a people's belief system. One of the things you need to understand about religion is that it's a belief system for which people are prepared to die for. What people won't die for in their political beliefs, when it comes to religion, they will defend it and they will die for it. And so you need maturity to be sensitive and to be able to live peacefully. And like I say, the Orthodox churches show us a lot of maturity, how they've been able to negotiate this nebulous land maze and be able to coexist with the religious beliefs of the traditionalists, the Muslims, the Baha'i, and all other faiths. It's an example for us now to follow. So, for example, when it comes to the traditional drumming and dancing, I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem at all. I think that it's not something to fight about. I think that there's no need. I may not agree with the modus operandi, but I think that as a people in the land, if the people of the land say this is it, we should. And what fuels it also, sorry, just to end, is to see other regions imposing those religious traditional beliefs, and the same people who fight against the Ghana traditional belief kind of like succumb and adhere to it. So it's kind of like an oxymoron. How do you then deal with them?
Thank you very much. May I call on Numo Blafo? I mean, this, we're all supposed to be able to practice our religious or faiths freely. The traditional point of view, people seem to feel that retribution or punishment for wrongdoing is more immediate, and therefore you said to us that traditional religion is lived. It is a way of living, and so many people in Ghana actually have a dual, are probably practicing duality, and when in trouble will rush to the traditional. So I wanted to ask you again, the tension between Christianity and traditional religion, people appealing to traditional gods when in trouble and so on. What are your views on that?
Let me say that it's not a conflict or tension between traditional religion and Christianity. It has been a tension between traditional religion and I would say the Pentecostals and the Charismatics. Why? Because we've had Catholic, Anglican, all of them. We've lived with them all these years without conflict during the ban on drumming and noise making. But with the advent of Charismatics and the Pentecostals, that's where the problems began. Because one, they will say that, yes, we are Christians and that the moment we adhere to your rules, it means we are worshipping what you are worshipping and all that. But you see, the ban on drumming and noise making is nothing about, it has nothing at all about, say, worshipping of anything. Ghans they've been fishermen and farmers. And, you know, farming has its seasons. Symbolically, this ban on drumming and noise making, if you actually watch it, it begins at the time when we're supposed to be clearing our farms for making our farms ready for cultivation. Therefore, rationally, if you are busy in such an act which will help or which will make the population or the people have food, would you leave all this work on the farm to go and then be reveling? I mean, partying, doing all sorts.
So it's a form of regulating behavior. Is that what you're saying?
That's why I said the traditional religion is lived.
Yes.
You understand? Yes. Because, and at that point, you are busy on your farm. Okay. Now the priests, who is the spiritual leader of the community, must also be engaged in prayers to ensure that there is good harvest, there is prosperity for all in the community. In that case, the priest will also be indoors, also communing with whoever. But we know we commune with Ade-Acquah, who is our God. And now during this period, you hear a lot of, I mean, especially from our charismatic brothers and the
I think the discussion is heating up now.
Yes, for us, we are not part of you, so we will adhere to this rule, and then we will play our drums and do whatever. And that is what has created.
Thank you for your contribution. We've gotten two different viewpoints.
I think there is just one point about libation.
Okay.
Because during maybe, in fact, state events like the Independence Day, before we'll be having this libation by the priests before the Christian prayer and then the Muslim prayer and all that. It got to a point people started, I mean, denigrating the libation. But libation actually is a form of prayer. And I would say in the Bible itself, Jacob poured libation. I stand for correction, because when he was traveling, running away from Esau, and he slept somewhere, used a stone as a pillow, when he woke up the next day, because of the vision he had, he poured oil on that stone, which he used as an altar. And then Moses was also commanded by God to pour strong wine in the holies of holies. I think Father is here.
Okay.
So why?
I think the question I would be sending your way is, you know, I don't want to use the word tension, but I think at some point there was a description of the three, Judaism, Islam, Christian, descending from Abraham. There's assertion in there of the superiority, I think, you know, from utterances and philosophies and proposals of Christianity. However, Baha'i and Islam are major world religions. So I'm interested in finding out what your perspective of the view of supremacy of one religion over another. I think it goes to accommodation. I hope I'm not being too controversial, but perhaps Mrs. Mills-Tettey, and I don't know if you could give us some short remarks on this.
Yes. Yeah. No religion is superior to any other religion from the Baha'i point of view. What we do believe in is progressive revelation, do you see? And that from age to age, as we said, you know, when you look at all the religions, they have come at different times. And then the teachings of the manifestation at that time teaches according to the development of humanity at that time. So just as an individual human being starts as a baby, grows to adulthood, and a parent will teach according to the development of the child. It doesn't mean that the parent, when they are teaching a 2-year-old, knows less than the parent who is teaching a 15-year-old, you see. And then we also believe that the human race evolves, do you see? So there was a time when humanity was maybe in its babyhood, childhood, adolescence, and all that. And so we don't believe that any religion is superior to another, but each religion has come and the teachings are according to the period in which it was revealed. So you might look at a teacher who teaches class 1, and think that that teacher doesn't know very much because they are teaching 1 + 1, ABC. And then there's a teacher who is teaching class 6. You see, but the teachers are teaching according to the capacity of the people. But they probably all went to the same teacher training school.
Okay.
You see, so this is what we believe, that they have come from God, but when they come to earth, they teach according to the capacity of humanity at that time.
Well, I
For his
think
views.
most of our problems are due to ignorance. Most reverend here would attest to the fact that he sits with the chief imam often, and they discuss religious matters. Maybe 40, 50 years back, there was no way a Muslim imam would sit with a Christian cleric. In fact, there was a time when my own father would not let my sister go to Wesley Girls, even though she had passed. He rather sent her to St. John's Grammar, simply because if she went to Wesley Girls, she would be forced to go to church. Now these things have changed, and it is good for all of us. I mean, I would say there's still a lot of ignorance. I mean, if you talk about Boko Haram, what is Boko Haram? Literally, it means book is forbidden, i.e. Western education is forbidden. This is actually what Boko Haram means. So it is the ignorance that if you send your school to be educated in the Western way, you will lose him religiously. So parents who were strict Muslims will not send their children to school. And that is how Boko Haram developed. And everybody, I mean, every right-thinking Muslim, I would say, will condemn Boko Haram because it is not what the religion says. But again, there is insensitivity on our parts, and I believe Muslims and Christians are both at fault. For example, when you go to Nima Mahmoudi, where there are a cluster of mosques, maybe 20, 30 mosques within a 1 mile radius. When it comes to calling the prayers azan, I feel honestly that if they call it in one mosque, it should be for everybody. But within 5 minutes, you could hear the azan being called in every mosque. I am a Muslim, but I get irritated by that. So I can imagine what my Christian friends do feel. Especially at dawn. When you are sleeping and then you just hear, and you wouldn't understand, who are these idiots disturbing me? It is a fact.
Yes.
And it is the same thing with particularly the charismatic churches. I have one opposite my house. These days, it is not Friday all night. Now it is every night all night. I mean, I've had occasion when I boiled up, but fortunately, my neighbor was in the same soup. As soon as he heard me open my gate, he came out. He said, "Alaji, don't go there. You leave it to me. I will handle it.
Thank you very much, Alhaji.